Hello everyone. In this video I want to talk about the Convoy T3, as you can see here, in titanium and copper. Very handsome looking light if I say so myself. And the reason that I was excited to try this particular one is, as I understand it, the default aluminum version is not dual fuel, it's only the 14500 rechargeable. This one will also accept regular AA's or nickel metal hydrides. Generally, if I'm going for this size light, I will insist upon dual fuel just because each of the other ones I have are, and I don't know, it's just a great feature that I'm like, since I already have lights that have it, for any new light to justify itself in my collection, it ought to also have that. A couple other lights that I am comparing it to in this video are my, at this point, probably 6-year-old Lumintop Tool AA, also in titanium. This used to be a little more golden color. It's faded a bit over the years. This will be a good contender because it's dual fuel as well, was my pocket light for a couple of years, but has a much floodier beam, which you'll see shortly when I take it outside. And then this is the Nitecore MT1A, also a good thrower, but a very cool, bordering on somewhat green light. Whereas this one I got in SFT25R. This is my first flashlight with that emitter, but from what I've read about it, which made me excited to try it, it is a good thrower, but it has generally a pretty usable spill. And if you get it in 5000 Kelvin, which is what this is, it's supposed to be a fairly whitish yellow beam, not very green. So I thought that would give us some good comparisons as well, because this one is Nishia and it's obviously very warm. This one is very cool, and then this one should be somewhere in between. This one over here is my Convoy 21E, S21E that is. Obviously it's a lot bigger than the other ones. The main reason I'll be putting it in the comparison for these is only that I liked this flashlight so much that when I first got it, it became my general purpose go-to light that I just carry around and use a lot of the time. And ever since getting this one, it's kind of replaced it in a lot of cases anyway. Obviously, this is Nishia 719A, this is not. So when I really want that kind of high CRI, there's no replacement for that. But as an easy to carry around light, this throws so well, as you'll see in a minute. I just find this a better carry than this. So in a second here, we're going to go outside, and I want to show you two things when we're out there. One will just be, I'll have the camera on a tripod, and we'll be looking at some scenery, and I'll show you the different modes of all four of these lights and how they stack up against each other. And then I'll take the camera off the tripod and just walk around. I like doing that in my flashlight videos to simulate just going out for a walk in the evening, so that you can see how the flashlight handles with shining at the ground, shining at nearby objects, further away objects while on the move. Alright guys, here we are outside. Let me get one of these lights on so we can kind of see what we're looking at here. There we go. So I chose this scene. I want to kind of introduce it with the light first, just because I've got this tree here that's pretty close to me. It's probably about 15 feet away. And then I've got that tree line, which is probably another 10-15 feet further back from that tree. And then over here to the left of the frame, you probably can't see it yet until I kick it up into a bigger mode. Those are some further distance, so you can get a sense of the throw. That's a fairly good distance away. That's probably about, I would say, 100 feet from me. So we, without having to move the camera, have a pretty good sense of what we'll see. So this is the low mode of this light. You can see it has excellent ability to reach out and touch close-up things, and even over this, the spot that it has is nice. A good amount of detail from that, even on its lowest mode. I really like that about the light. And then shining on the ground, there's a pretty good area. It doesn't totally come through on camera necessarily. Maybe it does, how much the spill around it is, but I think it does a great job of giving you a nice balanced beam, and it just barely tickles those trees on the left. I will show you that against the Nitecore MT1A, because prior to getting the T3, this was my best thrower of this size light. So as you see, it also has a pretty good hot spot there, and also a pretty good usable spill around it too. I like this beam a lot. Probably the weakest thing that I find about this light, you see it on the trees over there. The weakest thing about this light is really just the slightly greenish beam. That doesn't bother me a whole lot, but some people I see in forums really do not like that. But it's also an extremely light flashlight. It's lighter than all of my other single AA lights, and so it really has that going for it. Alright, now last standalone comparison. This is the Lumintop Tool AA. I'm going to shine it along the ground here. You can see that it is, like I told you, pretty floody. And if I shine it on that tree, decent illumination of the tree, but not much range. If I try to hit those trees back there behind it, it doesn't really do a good job of hitting those at all, and absolutely does not make it to the trees on the left. So, let me compare it, just because I'm holding it in my hand here. This is the Lumintop tool that you see there against the Nitecore MT1A. I'm going to kick both of them up a mode. Now the tool has, I think, 4 modes. The MT1A has 3. So, as you can see, the MT1A in its medium mode definitely does a great job of hitting those trees over there, and it lights up all of the space in front of me. Big usable area. And definitely now does a good job of hitting those trees kind of in the distance there. Comparatively, the Lumintop tool will now hit these trees and a little bit back there, but still basically nothing. But it is starting to become pretty decent at that distance there, and blows up a pretty good area in front of me. And if I kick it up to its second to highest mode, now it does a great job of hitting those trees, and it's just starting to like give us some kind of usable detail over in those trees there. I go up to its very highest mode. You see it gets very bright, but it gets hot very quickly in this mode. It's already hurting my hand, to be honest. This is the MT1A in its highest mode now. So extremely bright up close, and if I shine it over there, you see it blows up everything in front of me really well. And very good reach. For a light this small, very good reach. Now I want to show it to you against the star of our show here to show you its ability to throw. So let me cycle this back down to its lowest mode, and then this is the Convoy T3. Now if I put their beams next to each other, you can tell 2 things right off the bat. You can tell what I mentioned to you about the T3 on the right here is a much more yellowish beam. This one has a greenish tint to it on the left. And the reason that I think the T3 is a little bit better thrower is that it has a little tighter focused hotspot. You can see that in the trees there. Let's kick them both up into a medium mode, because that's where they both do a great job of something that they would use all the time. So pretty similar performance there. Obviously at that distance you do see a little bit of difference in the focus size. This is the MT1A. And then that's the T3. And then in their highest mode. Actually, I think the T3 has 4 modes. So this is its next mode up higher. Not quite its highest mode, but you see it does a great job of illuminating all that over there. Great job of blowing all of this up in front of me, just like the MT1A. Okay, this is the MT1A at its max. And now I'll have the T3 at its max. They're pretty similar other than their tint, but what I personally like slightly better about the T3 is I just find the space around its focal point a little better detail. It's getting very hot in my hand, so I'm going to step it back down. And I'll put it back in medium. And now, for comparison, this is the Convoy S21E that I mentioned before on its lowest mode. Now, what I had liked about this light, other than being Nichia and high CRI, is I felt like it gave you a really nice mixture of also being a decent thrower, not an awesome thrower, but pretty decent. One of the best throwing Nichia lights I've ever had. And as you get into its second to highest mode, you see that it also does a pretty good job of hitting those trees over there and blowing up everything in front of us. On its highest mode, And then it obviously has a double tap for turbo. It definitely has a bit better thermal regulation. You could use this in its turbo mode for longer before that becomes kind of uncomfortably hot in the hand. And versus the, let me put this back down into its more medium mode. So you can see it here. The Convoy T3 on the left now definitely has a tighter hotspot. This is decent throwing, but still fairly floody in comparison. And I mentioned in the beginning of the video that the T3 has kind of taken its place as my like general carry, you know, the one I would grab most often to use for just about everything. And this is why. Like, yes, the high CRI of the Nishia to me is a great feature. I love Nishia lights, but this one is still very pleasing with its yellow tint to me, and it has a wonderful balance of usability, of big area, and good reach. And I love the battery versatility, and obviously its smaller size just makes it super nice to carry in the pocket. Okay, so now let's go for a walk. Alright, so for this segment, I'm going to walk out into the street. This is a country road. There's very little traffic. I'll be careful. But I do this in a lot of my videos because it really gives you an idea of long distance. Look at how much it will blow up the road. I mean, all the way down the street. To my eye, I don't know how well it comes through on camera, because often on the camera, the illumination appears a little bit less good than reality. To my eye, that road curves to the left down at the very end and kind of disappears from this vantage point, and the light usefully hits it pretty much all the way down to that vantage point. And same other direction. This is a hill that goes down, but it can see pretty much to the end of the hill and just hit those reflective objects down there. Super good detail, blowing all this up. The end of the flashlight is getting kind of stinging hot though at this brightness. So I wouldn't, it does seem to maintain this mode fairly well, but I wouldn't stay in this mode for long on this light, the cost of, you know, having a small light. However, mode 2 of 4, which is kind of its medium-ish mode, as you can see, still does a very good job, gives you good run times and no heat issues at all. I mean, those trees are a pretty good distance from me there. I could stand in the center of the street, and if I look this way, it blows up the whole street in front of me. I got good detail, probably a little better than what's coming through on the camera on the left and the right. And everything down the center, lots of detail. Alright, so we've got these two here, there's a stump there, and as we look up a little bit, there's a fence line, and then there's some trees a pretty good distance back. It does a good job of touching them, really. I mean, I've tried a lot of lights out here, and some of them really struggle to hit that. Some of my good throwers on its medium mode are the ones that touch those trees. This on mode 2 of 4. There's 3 of 4. Look at how well it lights all that up. And then there's 4 of 4, highest mode. Sorry for the unsteadiness of the camera here, but awesome. There is a like third row of trees behind those way back, and it can almost hit all of that. To me, being able to get that kind of illumination with a pocket light is fantastic, and getting that kind of reach, also fantastic. Alright, so my thoughts about this light. I've had it for quite a few weeks now. I'm carrying it basically every day in the pocket and in a sling bag and stuff. I would say, starting with the negative, the weakest part of this light, and what is otherwise, in my opinion, an excellent light, is the pocket clip. I like that it has the coil here that it could both go on a hat or something and go on the pocket. That's nice, but obviously this is like not deep carry at all. And when I put it in a pocket, there's always this big chunk sticking out, and I don't know. That's not entirely ideal to me. It's never actually fallen out on me yet when I've used it, but I feel like it's come close a couple of times because of that. I just think that could have been better executed. That could have swished up, more on the battery tail or something like that, a little better. The action on the button is good. It feels pretty solid. It's very responsive. I've never run into an issue with it where I push the button and it keeps like not counting it. I have had flashlights where that's been an issue, not on this one. There's a little bit of like wobble if you move your finger around on it, but not like an amount that makes it feel cheap or like it's going to pose an issue. Just worth noting. Only other minor gripe I would say about this light is each time I have taken that off, and it squeaks a little bit, and I have put a small amount of oil on the threads to see if it would stop that, and it doesn't. I don't know if it's a function of this being the titanium version and if the aluminum version is maybe better or different, but the threads are very particular. You have to have it dead on. Now, I did it well that time, but I've had a couple of times where I keep like having to move it around and it's not going, and I'm like, come on, and it just won't catch with the threads. More so than I generally have on other lights. I might have just gotten one where the threads are slightly off. Hard to say. But that's my other like minor gripe about it is sometimes the threading on that's a little tricky. Otherwise, like I said in the beginning, I really like the way this flashlight looks. The copper is very nice on that. I think it does a good job of heat dissipation as well. Probably part of why it feels so hot, but it's helping the light out. The body of it, the stonewash finish, it's also got a shinier titanium finish you can get as well. I picked the stonewash just for something a little different. I like that it can, as long as the table is very flat, it can tail stand. Not always a super big deal to me, but I've had a couple of lights that do tail stand, and I like that for different settings, such as when I read to my son at night, just to give sort of a gentler glow than the room's light. And this is probably my only AA light that does a decent job tail standing. So that's a minor bonus for it. Obviously, since the raised parts don't go all the way around, if you're setting it on something, say like a napkin, that's obviously it doesn't do a good job when it's not flat. It's got to be perfectly flat. Like a lot of Convoy lights, it has programmable modes. I think you click this like 10 times or something like that. I'll find the instructions and put them in the video description. I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about that here. But there's like 12 different mode groups you could choose from for how you want the different brightness modes. You can put it into that. I like the concept of having choices. I like that in general Convoy does that with its lights. I haven't changed the mode on this one just because when I had a look at what all the other modes do, this one works the best for me. One thing I wish they would do differently on this, because they do it in what is my opinion a more favorable way on the larger S21E that I was talking about earlier. It has the feature where a double click goes to turbo and a triple click goes to strobe. This one, as far as I can tell, the only way to get into strobe is to select it in one of the 12 mode groups where strobe is just one of your light modes that you're cycling. I don't care for that. I don't want to have to cycle through strobe every time I'm doing the modes. I want it to be a triple click where if I need it, I know exactly what I need to do to very quickly get it, but it's not in my way the rest of the time. I wish this light had that. If I'm missing something and there is a way to make it like that on this light and somebody watching knows that, please put it in the comments. I would love to know. Otherwise, the 4 brightness modes, I think, give you a good spread. The lowest mode is a little brighter than what I would call a moonlight, but it's good enough. It does a good job of shining around under a desk or in a dark area where you don't want to bother other people. It's mode 2, like I said, I use probably 80% of the time. This light especially, I think it's medium mode, mode 2 of 4. Excellent blend. It's enough light for almost everything I do with it, and because this is a pretty good throwing pocket light, man, it does a pretty good job for at least 10 hours of battery life that you would get on this mode. I like that a lot about it. Sometimes lights I've owned have USB-C charging on the outside. Some people don't like that. I generally do like it just because of the convenience. I don't mind that you technically lose some waterproofing capabilities when that's true. However, you can overcome some of that by Now this is obviously a battery that goes to the Nitecore that I have, but I'm using it because it has the USB port in the battery. And that would make it so that if I were out somewhere with this light and I needed a charge, I could just use USB-C on the battery itself and charge this light up wherever I happen to be and then put it back in here. I think that's pretty cool. And then of course, if you say carry regular AA's or nickel metal hydrides in your backpack or something, then you've got spares that are very usable. I think for me, the only thing stopping this from being a pretty much perfect pocket light is the inability to go into strobe with the triple click, to be honest, because the beam color is nice. The mixture of excellent throw with very big, good detail in the spill, to me, is the perfect balanced beam for a small light like this. I like it a lot. The dual fuel, excellent. If it just had that strobe, it would like really tick all of the boxes. I could even live without, making any big changes to that pocket clip. But anyway, big fan of it. Wanted to share this with you guys. I'll put a link in the description, not an affiliate link, that you can try if you want to check this light out yourself. If you have any questions about something I didn't cover here, I'll do my best to answer them. Otherwise, I thank you for joining me in this video. I hope you'll catch me in the next one. This, though, has become my everyday light now. I just really like everything about it. It beats out a lot of the other lights that I have.